Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. So, if you've not noticed, the global food supply chain has been absolutely decimated, guys. It really has. Now, these warning signs are everywhere. They are, guys. The warning signs are literally everywhere. So what I'm going to do in this video, I'm gonna talk about how vulnerable the food supply chain is, particularly in the United Kingdom. Because look, like, we're an island and we import a lot of our food, and we are Britain is highly vulnerable to global food shortages. So I'm going to talk to you guys about how that is going to be affecting you coming onto the future. I'm then going to share with you guys some of the alarming reports that are out right now, because these food shortages are here, guys. They're here, they're coming, and they're only going to get worse. I think people need to prepare for the long haul. I don't think having an extra loaf of bread in the freezer is going to really cut the mustard. Even people who've got like a 2-week supply, I don't think that's going to help. I think what people should do is start growing their own food. Like, everybody should start growing their own food. And I'm going to talk about the best food that you guys should be growing. Now, before I do that, guys, I will be closing this down on, I will be closing you guys down on X, and then the whole video will be on, YouTube. So let's just get into this, guys, and talk about, in fact, you know what, let me share these first. So, the food supply in the United Kingdom is ridiculously vulnerable. We've had these warnings out now for quite a while. UK prepares for food shortages in worst case scenario as Iran war continues. Now, this is like from a couple of weeks ago. And these things are, we are now looking at that worst case scenario. Higher food and fuel prices could last for more than 8 months after the Iran war ends. So this is the reality now. And look, guys, I don't want to throw out there I told you so, but I absolutely did tell you guys this. When this conflict started, from the get-go, I said to everybody, I said, listen, guys, don't expect anything. Like, don't expect anything for 3 years. So let me talk about the empty shelves, because they're a lot closer than you think. So let me ask you a simple question right now. And this comes from somebody gave, what's his name? I think he's like Practical Prepper or something. Somebody was on the chat and they said, Sean, Practical Prepper gave, I think that's his name, gave some advice. And he said, what would you do if you're trying to think of what you should do and you've only got limited funds, only got limited finances? What would you do? What would you want? What would you do right now if everything collapsed? So I'm going to ask you guys a question right now. How many days of food do you think we have in this country? And then you can put that down to a microcosm and think, how many days of food, how many meals do you have in your closet? The answer will shock people, because right now the United Kingdom only grows around 60% of their own food. Everything else comes in on ships, planes, and lorries from all over the world. Spain, Morocco, Kenya, Peru, that's where they come from. Now, guess what? Ships, planes, and lorries, they all use diesel or jet fuel, right? And we are having global shortages. The United Kingdom, we run on a just-in-time delivery supply chain. Supermarkets keep almost nothing in reserve, maybe a day, 2 days, sometimes even less. And the gap between, that's the gap between full shelves and panic. So like 2 days, guys, literally 2 days. If the supply chain fails, which I think it will, various reasons, 2 days, the shelves are empty, guys. 2 days, 3 days maybe. And once those shelves go empty, people will go out and they will be bulk buying. They will be panic buying. There will be people price gouging. People will say, oh, right, okay, well, there's a global shortage, right, of, I don't know, bottled water. We saw this with hand sanitizer, right? People were going out there buying all the hand sanitizer and then selling it for like £5 a squirt. Ridiculous. And our system is fragile. It really is, guys. It's dangerously fragile. We've already been warned. I've just shared with you guys some of the articles. That's just some, they're just from the last couple of weeks. We've been warned already with the chaos in the Middle East. Government planners are preparing for serious fuel shortages later this year. Energy prices are skyrocketing. Fertilizers becoming non-existent. Shipping routes are under pressure. And one decent shock, a bad summer, a cyber attack, another conflict, or even prolonged bad weather could bring the whole house of cards tumbling down. So think about it, guys. All these government analysts, okay, they're only looking at the war. They're looking at the war in the Middle East and saying, right, all these problems are coming from the war in the Middle East, right? They're not taking into account all these mysterious explosions and fires and breakings down of the other gas. I think we said, I did it earlier on the live stream. I think 80 so far have mysteriously broken. So this problem is just getting worse and worse. Now, you know, the government ministers are saying that it's going to take at least 8 months. What did he say, actually? I don't know if he said at least. Higher prices could last for 8 months after the Iran war ends, says ministers. Not a chance. Not a chance. I think it's going to be back to normal after 8 months, guys. 3 years. That's what people need to understand now. We are in this for the long haul. And best case scenario, the shortages are going to, they're really going to become visible between now and the middle of next month. Experts have been sounding the alarm for years. One professor, Tim Lang, one of Britain's top food security voices, has described the situation as a tinderbox, an island nation heavily dependent on imports with almost no strategic food reserves. In a world that is becoming more unstable by every month, this is not just risky, it's reckless. So think about it. We pride ourselves on being a, well, I could argue that we're a superpower anymore, on being a major power. We spend billions on defense. We talk about national security. Yet we've allowed our own food supply, the most basic requirements for any nation, to become one of our greatest vulnerabilities. I am going to do a standalone video, a real short one, and I'm just going to talk about what I think's coming this year, but I'll give it to you now. I think this year we're going to see a lot of farmers' fields burning down. You know, when they're at that stage and like everything's really dry, midsummer, just before the harvest, they're going to go up in flames, guys. They are. One serious disruption, and we're going to have empty shelves. We saw this during the craziness of COVID. And there weren't really, there wasn't really supply chain issues then. It was more of a inconvenience. So the question we should all be asking right now is, why do we not control our own food security? Because food security in the United Kingdom, it's going to be tested very soon. It is, guys. It's going to be tested really soon. We only produce 60% of our food in the United Kingdom. And when the whole world is struggling for food, that 40%, it's not going to come. And I think here in the United Kingdom, we are going to, honestly, I know this sounds extreme, but I've spoke about this before. I think we're going to see famine in the UK. Seriously. And I'm defining a famine as a famine is an extreme, widespread shortage of food, often triggered by conflict, natural disasters. It's officially declared when 20% of households face extreme shortages. That doesn't sound that, think about it, right? We only produce, look, guys, this is my Raven maths, all right? You guys can argue with the Raven maths if you want. If we only produce 60% of our food, that would mean we're getting 20% less, 40% less, right? So that to me would say that we are going to, at least 20% of households will face extreme food shortages. I don't see any way around that, guys. I don't see any way around that. That's my Raven maths. If you guys want to give me another way of working that out, that's absolutely fine. But if we are short 40% of food, then 20% of households facing extreme food shortages doesn't sound that far-fetched, does it? It doesn't. And that's the definition of a famine, when 20% of households face extreme food shortages. They're not my definitions, guys. Go Google it. Go Google it. So what I'm going to do now, guys, I'm going to turn... I'm going to turn X off. I'm then going to just continue this live stream on... I'll just continue this live stream on YouTube. Let me turn you guys... If you guys want to jump over from X, I'm turning you guys off now, and I'll just be streaming on YouTube. Right. So what I'm going to talk about now is growing food. Right now, look, guys, I'm not an expert in growing food. I'm absolutely not. In fact, right, I would say I'm far from an expert in growing food. Right. A couple of years ago, maybe last year, no, definitely not last year. I think the year before, we grew potatoes in the garden, and I'm definitely going to grow potatoes again. We grew potatoes in the garden, and it was fantastic. We had so many potatoes, and literally they weren't seed potatoes that I bought from the shop. They were literally, I was clearing out one of the cupboards, and at the back there was like some red potatoes, some white potatoes that had sprouted. So I planted them. We went out with the girls and we planted them. We got a massive yield, and honestly, it was fantastic. The year after, I tried to grow, tomatoes. Absolute disaster, guys. Didn't even get one tomato. It was pathetic. However, if you think that the food supply in the United Kingdom could ever collapse, which I do. Now, whether this is from war, sabotage, blackouts, or crime, I guess, what would you grow? If you could only choose one single food for your garden, your allotment, whether that's, at your mum's house or, wherever you've got a patch of land, what would be the one single food to plant in your garden right now that would, sustain you and keep you guys going for the longest? My answer is simple, practical, and very British. It's the potato, guys. I think people should plant potatoes right now. Honestly, really. In a real crisis, and I know this is going to sound silly, but potatoes are the ultimate survival food, right, for this country. Now, here's why. They produce more edible calories per square meter than almost anything else you can grow in our particular climate. They love British weather, rain, clouds, the shorter summers, while fancy imports like sweet corn and other things, they would fail here. Potatoes thrive. And look, guys, I can vouch for this 100%. Like, the amount of potatoes we got, it was phenomenal. So grow potatoes, guys. Grow potatoes. They're ridiculously easy. You don't need fancy equipment or or time. Just a good sprouted potato, this is what I did, some soil and a bit of space. You can grow them in the ground, in potato bags, in old tires, raised beds, whatever. So if you've got, so I did some research into this, and if you've got 500 square feet, you could produce hundreds of kilos of potatoes, enough to keep one person fed throughout the year with proper storage. So if you've got 500 square feet, and again, look, guys, I understand not everybody's going to go out now and totally cultivate their garden. I get that, right? I'm not. But, you know, instead of planting flowers this year, seriously, guys, instead of planting flowers and bedding plants this year, because I know you guys do. I know you do. You like the pretty colors. You do. You like, well, guess what? Potatoes give a little flower as well. They give like a little purple flower. I don't know if you knew that. So this year, my advice to everyone, right, is this year, rather than planting bedding plants, plant potatoes. Literally, you can't eat bedding plants. Maybe you can. I don't know. Depends what they are, right? You can't eat bedding plants. They don't give you anything back. And I just think that right now, we're at that stage. We're at that like pre-stage, like with the fuel, right? Somebody I know, I told him, I said, mate, the price of diesel is going to rocket, and, you know, it may even be taken off the shelves. Anyway, he didn't believe me. He's like, no, we've heard this before. Nothing will happen. I'm like, oh, it's going to get a lot worse. This time it's a lot worse. Anyway, he phones me up now all the time, telling me how much diesel costs. And it's got to a stage now where, and I'm not being negative to him. It's got to a stage now where he's phoning me up and he's telling me that his van is using more diesel. And I'm thinking, no, your van's still using the same amount of diesel. It's just it costs more. I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to argue with some people, but people who don't see what's coming, a boxer will always tell you that it's not the punch that they see that takes them down. It's the punch they don't see. So grow yourself some potatoes, guys. Get those potatoes in the garden. They store brilliantly. Cure them properly and keep them in a cool, dark place. And potatoes will last 6 to 12 months. One harvest can literally carry you through the winter. Now, but then guess what? You can replant those potatoes. And I will guarantee, right? I will guarantee if you're one of these people now, and please do it, guys, please just consider, right? Instead of putting bedding plants, I don't know, wherever you put your bedding plants, put some potatoes. And I can guarantee that next year, you will have more. You know, potatoes are versatile. What's he say on Lord of the Rings? Boil them, mash them, put them in a stew. Taters, you know, we want some taters. You can do all sorts of potatoes, guys. You can. The Irish proved it for centuries. 1 acre of potatoes can feed several people. In a real collapse, that's the kind of crop that keeps people, you know, keeps people alive. So my advice to everyone now in Britain, get yourself some potatoes in the ground. Literally, I can't give you guys any better advice. There's plenty of videos on, there's plenty of videos online. I'm not gonna rehash things that other people have already spoke about. Yes, if you know what you're doing, I don't. If you know what you're doing, you can't, you might be able to do something else, or you want to do something else. But for me, like planting potatoes, it was the easiest thing ever. We got loads, and potatoes do well in the British climate, because if the lights go out, guys, and the lorries stop lorrying, and the ships stop shipping, and the farmers stop farming, and the supermarkets stop supermarketing, you don't want to be the one who wished you planted potatoes a couple of months ago. This is not paranoia, right? I'll share with you guys the articles again in a second. This is common sense. It's absolutely common sense. It's free. you know, it's free. You don't need anything. You don't need fancy equipment. You literally, all you need is soil, right? Soil and water, and those potatoes will be little potato growers. So that's my advice, guys, to everyone. Literally, that is my advice to everyone. Now, looking holistically, and I am going to do another video on this, like a standalone video, but I do think that all these problems in the Middle East, in Europe, everything right now, the absolute destruction of our food supply chain, this is starting with the farmers, right? Farmers are selling their farms. This is no longer profitable. They're leaving them and kind of need food. It's going, oh, hang on a minute. Oh, somebody's phoned me. It's going to have that effect. And I think an additional contributor is going to be food sabotage. I see it, guys. Why wouldn't you? You know, earlier on, we were talking about these fires at military industrial complexes, fires at, critical infrastructure. Why wouldn't you burn down a country's food supply? Oh, it's against international law. Yeah, nobody cares. Think about all these fields, right? We live in the countryside, and I can walk to my local wheat field. I can walk to my barley field. I can walk through it. And if you can walk to it, you can walk to it with a lighter and a can of petrol. And I do think that's coming this year, guys. I really do. As sad as it sounds, the government will obviously say it's an isolated incident and it doesn't happen. And Keir Starmer will be saying he's going to come down hard on people. It's not going to happen, guys. We're too far gone. We are too far gone. The best analogy I can give you is, it's a good analogy. My sister was staying in my house, and I was in Baghdad. My sister was staying in my house, and I said, "Listen, can you just cut the grass because there's a lot of grass?" She says, "Yep." Anyway, so I phoned her up, and I don't know, after a week, "Have you cut the grass yet?" "No, it doesn't need cutting." "Oh, okay." "Have you cut the grass yet?" "No, it doesn't need cutting yet." "Oh, okay." "Have you cut the grass?" "No, it doesn't need cutting yet." "Oh, okay." "Have you cut the grass?" "No, it's too long. I can't get through it. The lawnmower is not powerful enough." So if you don't see these things and deal with them when they're small, it becomes too big. And right now, voting our way out of this is not going to help, guys. It really isn't. We're in an absolute catastrophe. I do think real food shortages are, well, you know what? It's not just me who's thinking this. Hang on. Higher prices could last for 8 months after Iran war, minister says. Now they're talking about higher food and fuel prices could last for a long time. So if we now look at this article, UK prepares for food shortages in worst case scenario. We're in the worst case scenario, guys. That's the reality now. We are in the worst case scenario. So even if, hang on, where does it say it here? It says it's somewhere in, it definitely says it's somewhere in here. Basically, what it says in this article is, if things don't get, this was an older article, right? What it says in this older article is, if the Strait of Hormuz doesn't open up, basically, and we start getting stuff, then the United Kingdom is going to have food shortages this year in summer, right? They gave a month. I can't remember what the exact month is. I'm not going to read it. However, what they're now saying is this is going to last for 8 months after the war in Iran finishes. So even if the war in Iran stops now, we're still going to get those food shortages, right? And this is just an analysis on, this is just an analysis on with the war in Iran. They're not putting into place any of the contributing factors. Right, let me jump onto the chat, guys. Let me jump onto the chat. Oh, Paul, is this like a thing? During the summer holidays, setting fire to cornfields was a popular pastime with certain kids. You know, this is what it's just going to be put down to. And I do think that's coming, guys. Absolutely. Clarendon is saying, need a stronger lawnmower. Yes, I've got a ride-on lawnmower now. Do you know what? I used to have like a pushy push, and it used to take me like an hour to do the top garden. And it was an absolute, like, it was hard work, you know, like pushing and back and pushing, because like you don't just walk with a lawnmower, you have to do this. And I got a ride-on lawnmower, and honestly, I've never looked back. I can do my whole garden now in like an hour. I can do like all my gardens in like an hour, and I love it, guys. I love doing extreme lawn mowing. Band again is saying potatoes take on average 3 months to grow. Get 12 buckets, plant 1 a week. After 3 months, repeat non-stop. Do you know what, Band again? Fantastic advice, yeah. And you can like rotate them through, right? That's a good idea. God of the Sea is saying getting there fast without fuel and F the net zero BS. Yeah, again, I didn't even, the net zero craziness. Potatoes ready next year. If you plant now, they will be ready in a few months. Do you know what, guys? I don't know how long it took. I don't know how long it took me to grow my potatoes. It feels so. Look, guys, I'm not an expert. I'm absolutely not an expert. But what we did, they grew. Now, I don't know if this is the right way to do them, but then you get like this little purple flower. When the flowers died, that's when my friend said that's when you need to harvest them. So I don't know. Forever Shay is saying all politicians belong to the secret, special, wet something party. Clarendon is saying sit on lawnmowers look like a laugh, they're nippy. Yeah, my new one isn't as fast as my old one though. I had a red one. I think it was an I can't remember what my old one was, but it had like a smaller blade. It had like I think it was like a single blade. And when I went back to the shop to upgrade, because it had broke down, the starter motor had gone. I got a bigger one with like twin blades, but it's slower. It does cut like twice as much, but yeah, I think I preferred the faster one. Sean, can you do a mowing stream? We need some peaceful relief. Do you know what? I did this a while ago, and I just put it on live stream while I was mowing the lawn. I might do that later. Do you want me to do that later? And I might do later. Fred is saying, who wants to buy my diesel van? Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to buy diesel vans at the moment, do they? Danny Walker is saying, Sean, me and my partner are growing a load of fruit and veg in our garden. We've got water bottles in our storage. Yeah, listen, if you know what you're doing, right? Obviously, if you guys know what you're doing, you know, obviously, and you can, then it's obviously better to grow like a diverse range of food and vegetables. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't. So for me, planting potatoes is the best thing. Honestly, they seem to just like love the environment. Mary's off to planter King Edward's. Right, listen, guys, if you're on, can you do me a real big favor again and hit that like button? I'm going to give you a quick rundown on what we've been talking about, and then I'm going to close this down, and then I'm going to do a very short video on food sabotage that I believe is coming. And again, this is nothing new. I've spoken about this. I've been speaking about food sabotage coming to the United Kingdom for a long time. I actually did a top 10 video like a long time ago, and the food supply in the United Kingdom is so vulnerable. Like, yes, we've got the fires. That's easy. That's easy. We've also got, when the food gets harvested, they put it in those big trucks. That's easy to get to. Normally, and look, guys, normally we don't attack our own food supply because I know it's all I've been eating lately, food, right? And I kind of need it. So if you are in the United Kingdom, right? Let me know if this fits. Let me know if you got, listen, if any of you guys can think of anyone who would fit this, what's the word I'm looking for? Profile. If you guys can think of anyone, listen, guys, I don't know if we've got any of these people in the United Kingdom, but just for example, let's just say that, so this is what I would profile as a food saboteur, all right? I would say somebody who is, clearly they need to be in the United Kingdom, right? So, tick. Somebody that doesn't have any affinity with the United Kingdom, somebody that doesn't pay for their own food, somebody that doesn't pay for their own electricity, and somebody that, may or may not be susceptible to taking criminal money for doing crimes. If there's anyone like that fits the bill, of that profile in the United Kingdom, then they are a potential food saboteur. Now, the food that we have in this country is quite shocking. We only produce 60% of the food in the United Kingdom. Everything else comes in on ships, planes, trains, and automobiles. And all of those things need diesel or jet fuel, which is just a higher octane diesel. Our supermarkets may have 2 days in the back, but that's it. They have 2 days. And this is like a visual, it's like a visual trigger, right? Because when people see the shelves empty, they'll buy more stuff, right? And people will be bulk buying, people will be throwing stuff away. The system that we have in the United Kingdom is dangerously fragile. We've already been warned many, many times. The alarms have been sounded for many years. Britain has been described as a food tinderbox, an island nation heavily dependent on imports with almost no strategic food reserves. So my advice to everyone before I close this live stream down is, this is my one piece of advice that everybody needs to do right now. Hit that like button and the share and the bell notification and the subscribe button if you've not done it already. No, potatoes, guys, grow potatoes. I know people are going to be there right now. You're going to be going out to I don't know, Morrison's or wherever you buy your bedding plants from. I don't know. You're going to be picking up some fancy flowers. Oh, look at that color. That's fine. That's fine. I get it. You want to have a nice, colorful garden. Don't we all? Those colorful little planties, they're not going to feed you. So what I would say is, obviously, if you've got the knowledge and if you've got the means, you probably don't need my advice. However, if you're just looking at the world right now and you're starting to get a little bit nervous, and you've got a perfect bedding area, where you put flowers every year, you put flowers in. Try and put potatoes in there just this year. Maybe not even a lot, just a couple of potatoes. You know, and that will, you know, that will start you, and that will give you something. And I think at this point now, this is more than knowledge, you know, more than knowledge that you can do that, right? And then maybe next year you do some more, because this is going to be a long haul, guys. This is going to be an absolute long haul. Potatoes love it in the United Kingdom. They're like the ultimate survival food. They give more calorie per kilo than pretty much any other food. And they grow brilliantly in the United Kingdom. So grow potatoes, ladies and gentlemen. Right, listen, guys, I'm going to close this down now. I'm going to close this down. I'm going to be back on very soon. You can eat most flower petals. Okay, we can eat. Okay, I don't know about that, and I wouldn't. Okay, I wouldn't know what flower petals you can eat and cannot eat. So I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to say you can. But I do know, and I'm pretty convinced, that you get more calories from a potato than you do from a flower leaf. Although maybe some nice flower leaves with a salad or something. I don't know, whatever you guys can eat. Right, guys, I'm going to close this down now. I'm going to jump back on, and I'm going to do another video. And I'm going to be talking about food sabotage, because I do think that's coming as well. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you hit those buttons, like and subscribe and everything. And I'll catch you guys later. Grow potatoes.